Wide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. Log on to WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, on the Roku cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, Looking, and now on Fanbase, Blue Sky, and Twitch. Download our free WCEG mobile apps. Search for WCEG and subscribe, like, connect, and follow us on all social media platforms. I'm Ernestine Pittman, host of Take a Stand for the next hour. The topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not WCEG Media Enterprise Inc. So let's sit down, settle in for today's show because I have a lot to talk about. Residents of East Point, you are in some powerful trouble, and no council member, except for two, are even trying to engage you, help out in any way. This coming Monday night, the 20th, you need to be in the place. And let's see why you need to be in the place. Remember back when we had Mr. Willie Jackson coming up there, the 80-year-old man who had sinkholes in his yard because of broken storm drains that had been put in there when the house was built and had not been dedicated to the city. And the city said, not our problem, your problem. We'll pay part, you pay a third. And that was it. Nothing else was in place. And that was in total violation of the stormwater utility that you pay a stormwater fee for. Because of this case with Mr. Willie Jackson, the city has sent out to some council members who brought up questions and wanted answers, information that I'm going to share with you. This is my first time reading it, even on the email that was sent out to one of the council members and was shared with me. That was Councilmember Martin. I want to ask you these questions because it is very important that you know. There are 61 houses now in East Point that East Point says they receive repetitive loss mailing. Did you know there are 6 houses on Inglewood? No, 8 houses on Inglewood Drive that are in flood zones. Some of these floodplains came about long after the people had moved into those houses. And based on what FEMA is saying now, these homes have to have flood insurance. And I want to get to that later. But I just want you to be cognizant of these houses in your city. There are 8 on Inglewood Drive, 4 on Carmel Circle, 5 West Potomac Drive, 2 Chesapeake Way, 7 Dogwood Drive, 4 Briarwood Boulevard, 4 Dotson Drive, 3 Rolling Brook Trail, 2 Meadowlark Drive, 8 Sir Henry Street, 5 Sun Valley Boulevard, 3 Capri Court, and 1 on Idlewood Drive. I have addresses, street addresses, for all of these homes that are now sitting in floodplains, having problems. And the city says, sorry, your problem, not mine. Well, we have news for the city. Sorry, it is our problem, the residents. And we have done something about it years ago. And we want what we are have been paying money for, a stormwater utility fee, to work for us and not for you and whatever it is that comes up in the city that we are unaware of. It does not make any sense that the city has not had, and this mayor and council has not had a town hall meeting to discuss this pertinent, important information. Your biggest investment in the city of East Point is your home. It is your home. And you could lose your home because you are unable to make repairs that would pass code enforcement for you to live there simply because it's on private property. Not happening. That's not why you're paying a stormwater fee. Every tract of land in the city of East Point that has impervious surface pays a stormwater fee. Now let's get down to some information about all of what I have spoken to you. What I'm telling you is minutia. It is so much more. And we need city employees in the stormwater management department to have a town hall meeting for residents in this city, citywide. Because if you live on Sir Henry Street, there are 8 houses that sit in a plane. What about all the other houses? How long before they become listed as floodplain territory based on FEMA guidelines? Well, here we go. Let's see just how much you know. When was areas declared special flood hazard areas? That means high risk flood zone as identified by FEMA. Now, FEMA is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Understand now, this is the same FEMA that the convicted President Trump cut big chunks of money out of. So, what had been a source of possible income is almost nil now when it comes to FEMA. How many homes are in the physical tributary of North Fork Camp Creek? That is a creek that flows through East Point to the Big Camp Creek that goes all the way down to Clayton County. Flooding and soil erosion are expected. Now, this is what was in the email that was sent out, and this is a quote. Flooding and soil erosion are expected due to the natural flow of the creek. Area flooding is caused by a natural watercourse of North Fort Camp Creek, which drains into the broader Meadowlark neighborhood. This is not something that the people in Meadowlark neighborhood created. This is something that happened because of the natural watercourse flowing from North Fort Camp Creek. This is not a creek that you can stand on one side and jump to the other side. No. Another statement that was in the email. These conditions are not attributable to any fault or inaction by East Point. This creek falls are regulated by the state and not the city of East Point. Any modification to the tributary and affected areas are controlled by the state. Disclaimer of all liability by the city of East Point. We knew that when we started on making sure that East Point residents had some form of storm water fee insurance. That is why we created the stormwater utility. Continuing quote, furthermore, neither the homeowner nor the municipalities have the legal right to dam or control a natural river basin under federal and state law. Okay? Environmental regulation. Okay. Continuing, another quote. In 2010, the city developed a stormwater master plan update. The update identified 1,200 parcels. That's 1,200 parcels with structures located partially or entirely within FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area. And did you hear that? 1,200 parcels with structures located partially or entirely within the special flood hazard area. What are we going to do, East Point? What are the residents going to do? You bought a house 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 35 years ago. You were not living in a floodplain. No, you were living on a street in an area where you thought your home was safe. Not aware of after 100-year flood, evidence has come to light, data that showed what I have just read. Now, you know the last flood we had was 500-year flood. And with the climate changes, every time it rains, it's heavier. There's a dry spell, it is a drought that really lasts. And because the ground is so hard and all from a drought, when it rains heavily, the water flows faster and gains speed and cause more severe flooding. If you are as concerned about your home investment as I am about every home investment in this city, then you should join me and every other resident in letting our mayor and council members know we want to have a town hall meeting with stormwater management staff going over where these big creek tributaries are. How far is my house from an identified floodplain identification as given by FEMA but regulated by Environmental Protection? If I live on Inglewood and the address there is 2344, I'm just going to give you a sample, and it's 8 homes. Well, how far down the street are these homes? Are they door to door to each other? Or one across the street, zigzag? It matters to the people who live there now. It should matter to everyone that lives on Inglewood because if property is deteriorated or destroyed on Inglewood, what does that say about your property values? The loss of any homes or homes being left to be just left because it was nothing done that the homeowners could do. Yes, they have to have some kind of flood insurance. But this flood insurance does not cover everything that needs to be done. Because if there's the possibility that building back is going to result in the same problem, you're not you're left with no option except to take what you can and leave. But what are you doing? You are leaving your home, your investment. Where are you going to go that's going to allow you to afford what you just left? Or are you going to say, okay, the insurance, flood insurance that I have will do just so much. I need help. And by the way, that was even a phrase in the email that says, build the house up, raise it up, like on stilts. So you know you're in trouble. And the house probably needs to be torn down and taken away. You don't have a home anymore. The flood, FEMA is not coming to your rescue and buy you out. But if you were a member of a group of residents citywide, like the stormwater utility is, a buyout. your house that cannot be rebuilt because the problem is going to continue there, and it needs to be torn down and whatever and the land cleared. The stormwater utility will buy your house out at the assessed value on your property tax bill, not the going retail rate. Make sure you understand me clearly. It is what your house value is assessed on your property tax bill. Say the property tax bill, so your house is assessed at $145,000. And you said, well, my house on the market could sell for $300,000. Well, go out there and look at that pile of trash that's now flooded out. And how much did you say it would sell retail? These are things we need to know and need to be discussed and all. But it's not being discussed by the people who have the information, who has the information and need to answer the question that comes up. I can't imagine living on a house with 8 houses that's in a floodplain. They weren't built in a floodplain. What has happened over the years? When I talked to you earlier, oh, you just discounted as Pittman rambling and Pittman coming up with some superfluous information that's not needed. I told you then, back in 2004, no, in 2000, Mayor Pastor Joe Hilligan administration had planned to walk the city and map out all our water tributaries. That's anything that branches off from a creek. It goes this way, it goes that way. Over time, some of these little tributaries or streams of water become smaller and larger. Bank erosion widens them. So that little stream that was so cute before, is now a creek because nothing has been done to maintain the banks. You can't stop the natural flow of water, but you can put things in place that will slow down the deterioration that increases the water flow and washes away the soil. It is important that when developers come and build behind your house where there were plenty of trees, the root system is destroyed, the flow of water is going to gain speed because you don't have the tree roots and the tree roots holding the soil in place. You just have background, the vegetation and all that was there, gone. Climate matters. Where you live matters. What happens over time to your physical surrounding matters. It may not be you today, but it will be you tomorrow if that water flows faster, higher rate, and more than it did when you first bought the house. No one can know how big the next flood will be. But we do know with the water tributaries that are in place, it can expand. And if it happens to one house on your street, why can't it happen to 2 houses, 3 houses? If those homes are not kept up, built and maintained, your property values are going to plunge. Who is going to pass by houses leaning, been condemned, space land that you cannot go back and build on because it's in a floodplain? What is going to happen? We need to have that discussion in this city. We need to have that discussion like yesterday, last year. because this information has been known since 2010. These all are stormwater management mandates from the federal government that tells municipalities and other governments what they have to do, what they can do, and what they should be done are two different things. You are not protected. Your protection lies in the stormwater utility, period. That is the insurance you are paying for. You're not going to get a policy with your name on it, but you will have an ordinance creating the stormwater utility, and in it, it will state the conditions under which money and that's being collected can be expended. And purchasing of homes that have to be torn down because of the flood zone that they're in and have been hit, it's not the city, it's the stormwater utility that will replace that. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing here, and this is what I have been fuming about. I was mayor in 2010, my first year. That is when these mandates start hitting the city. We were told by our consultant, who was an engineer as well as an attorney, do not allow your stormwater money to be used to fund these mandates that's coming down from the federal government. There was an East Point resident that lived on Victoria Drive who told us the same thing at a dinner meeting that some of us council members had over at the old Steak and Ale on Virginia Avenue, in which he said, and he was working for the North Georgia Regional Water District, do not allow the stormwater utility to include any federal mandates that's coming down the pike because you won't have any money. And true enough, that is true. And if you don't believe me, go and look in the budget book that was passed last year in June. Look on the stormwater management. It's under stormwater utility for funding, but the money is entirely spent on stormwater management. What does stormwater utility need with a truck? And the type of training that they go get? You sit in a room and you have workshops and seminars. Read it. You won't see anything in there that should be paid for by stormwater utility money because they are not performing stormwater utility principles and goals for which that money is being collected. I have just been knocked off my feet. I had no idea. I do know in 2013 I signed stormwater management update. That was when these regulations came in. Didn't say anything about stormwater utility in it. No, it had stormwater utility had not been funded, so it was not important. As soon as I signed the paperwork, the ordinance that created the stormwater fee, things changed. No stormwater money was ever collected while I was mayor. The first time it was collected was 2014, my first year out of office. Since then, stormwater utility money has been collected every year by the city. And every year in the city of East Point, some grassland parcel has been built upon that did not have a structure on it before, or has concrete now for parking that it did not have before. Which means if the city is doing its job, They are adding that parcel of land to the amount, to the different parcels, and the amount of money that is received increases. My problem, East Point residents, is with your downward, not my problem, somebody else's problem. It's your home. How quick are you to tell someone whom you do not like or don't want to be bothered with, get off my property, go home? You won't be able to say that because you won't have a home. And the city is not going to give you any money to help you with it. Code enforcement will send you a bill to have the property. I mean, send you notice that the property is going to be condemned. And when the city goes and go to court and get the notification to move ahead with the condemnation, and it is torn down, then a lien is put against the tract of land because there's no house there anymore until you pay the city. We need to have maps that were presented to us between 2005 and 2010, when the late former mayor Joe Macon was mayor. He and the council members made sure, based on the findings of the CIP work, that spent $12 million of the $51 million in CIP funding on storm water projects, creeks, tributaries, all of that. Mostly in wards B and A. Then in the 50s and 60s, homes were built. A different style home, a more costly, updated home, a bigger home. These homes were built mainly in wards C and D. Sir Henry Street is in Williamsburg, off of Duke of Gloucester. These homes were built by employees of Eastern Airlines. And they're beautiful homes, rolling lawns, and the people paid dearly for those homes. And now, 15, 20, 25 years later, we're having moisture problems that grew into a little water standing. Now we're having flooding problems over there. How long do you think that area, Duke of Gloucester, Williamsburg, any of the other streets that run off of there, will have the prestige for property assessment if one, two, three, four, five, six, eight homes over there are no longer over there? And when you ride through there, well, why did somebody build a house there? Well, that's in the floodplain. And if you build there, the same thing is going to happen. You're going to have it flooded out. FEMA said you can't build a house there. We have to take care of our city, our residents, ourselves. The mayor and council should be telling you what I'm telling you. And it doesn't matter if they're newly elected. They're not newly here to the city. And if they are that newly new to the city, you had no business to go and vote for them. Be that as it may, this is our mayor and council. They need our support, help, and yes, they need our information. Not to be attacked, but they are going to have to be making motions on the floor. Council member Latanya Martin Rogers is in the process of amending that current stormwater utility uh, ordinance, separating it out from stormwater management, and we see there's something new that needs to be added to this that we did not know or even comprehend when we first drafted the information that would be going into the stormwater utility ordinance. Floodplains. No one would have ever thought any of the houses on the streets that I have called would then be receiving yearly letters reminding them to take out flood insurance because they now live in a designated floodplain area. So in the stormwater utility that I am assisting Councilwoman Martin Rogers with, because I was there as part of it when it was being done. She was not on the council until we signed the fee that would be charged to everybody. We need to include people who have flood insurance, and they are given money for help with the rebuilding of a home elsewhere or buyout. That money, whatever it amounts to, would be used with the house assessed property on the property taxes. I don't see where are we to exclude money from that included. It doesn't make it should not be included. Whatever anyone gets for a standing feature house that is no longer livable and has to be destroyed and condemned by the city, and the area is cleaned, is going to get enough from flood insurance to replace that house anywhere else that's already built, let alone built from the ground up. So I don't think we need to go through trying to say if you have flood insurance, we're going to subtract the amount of flood insurance from the assessed that property. No, 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 no. That will not do. If the assessed property value is going to be low enough as it is, those of you who complain about paying a higher property tax because because your property assessment has gone up, I suggest to you, if you live anywhere near these houses on this list here, that you do whatever you can to save up money because your property assessment is not going to be enough and you're not going to get the retail selling value. Only the amount that's on the property tax bill assessment. We need to talk about that too and what can be done to make sure that, God forbid, any more houses listed on these streets will be in the floodplain designation. But what can be done to make sure that the flood of 100-year, let alone a 500-year, occur? How can we direct that water away from the land? We can't dam it up, but it says nothing about redirection. And that is what the city can do because of some of these federal regulated mandates. What are they paying for out of the general fund? Look in the budget. Read what it is the money is allocated for. Go to stormwater management in the stormwater funded budget. Stormwater money is being used, but it's not being used for the residents of this city the way it was intended. I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I would love to have this list of 1,200 addresses, not people names because people move in and out, but the street addresses. What area is my house in? What about my house? I know my house is in a compromised area because my next door neighbor front yard flooded twice on Arrowwood Drive because her driveway runs, if it were not to stop at the street, would go directly across the street from a manhole. Now, there's a stormwater drain that runs under my street that backed up, and they had to send out this big, heavy-duty, big boy monster vacuum truck. And the stuff that came out of there, some of it had to have been in there in 1950 because they don't make TVs like the ones that came out of there. And you know what? The city said to my neighbor, it's on private property, your problem. House hadn't ever flooded and flooded twice because of a storm drain owned by the city of East Point stopped up from not having been cleaned all the way out that goes straight under the street from this little trickle stream that's getting bigger by the year with debris falling it from dead trees, dead leaves, and all clogging it up, and denied her claim. And the house had just been completely renovated. I'm talking about like businesses come in and buy houses, and that's one did that. And downstairs in her basement where her garage is, the electrical outlets were messed up. And she had to call in an electrician. And she was charged $400 for something that was not of her making. And the city had the nerve to tell her, on your property, private property, it was flooding. Didn't matter that creek backed up that was flowing under there and through that big a storm drain was clogged up for lack of maintenance by the city of East Point. Oh, I'm still on that. And that's been since 2019. You know what, residents of East Point? I'm going to say this because I prayed. I have really prayed about my participation, continuing participation as a community activist in this city that I have lived in for 52 years. Come October 53. I am tired of your indifference. I am tired of your coming to a council meeting to whine and have not to whine, but to have a blowout about entertainment. And then on the day that the budget is adopted, not a single resident spoke on the motion to adopt the budget. I sat there. I was not going up there. I am not East Point's savior. I know a lot of history. I know a lot about what has been going on because I never stopped being a resident concerned about the the other residents in my city since I moved here in 1973. The people then, black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight, trans, whatever you want to call the diversity of the makeup of the city then, they were engaged. They cared about the city. They cared about each other. Oh, yes, we all have our agendas, but those personal ones that conflicted with the general good were put aside. And we came together and we joined together to get out information. To get out information. We held meetings in churches. Then we would go out and protest. It was not me. I could have done absolutely nothing alone, and thank God I've never had to. There have always been people who would help above and beyond what be a person's duty, because there were so many of the others sitting down looking as if you were Queen of Sheba, Cleopatra, or Queen Anne of England. Didn't make any difference. Same thing with the young men. You were too good to be out there. You were superior. You were, I don't know what the hell you were, but you were, whatever. Well, now, all you queens and kings, the chickens have come home to roost. East Point is a porous city. Not poor, porous, like a sponge. We soak up water. But when there's a drought, we still porous, but we're not soaking up water. And water travels faster on hardened, dry land. A flash flood is all it would take to mess up your basement, your heating units down there, your electrical wiring down there, any sheetrock you have in the interior walls or what have you. And then here comes Mr. Mold, MOLD, bags packed. Oh, I like this residence. And when he comes in and gets out in the system, you have to leave. Who is going to buy your house that has been said it is too much mold in it for human habitation? Where are you going to look to? How many of you thought about Mr. Willie Jackson when he came up there about his yard that for one solid year the city ignored before they finally went and started and got it fixed? One sinkhole had spread it to three. Finally, after 12 months, with he not coming up there the last 2 months, you were nowhere around. Now it's serious talk time. I received 2 citations protesting the city changing of the stormwater utility ordinance to stormwater management utility. 2 citations protesting. 7 cars during COVID. 7 cars. When I got my citation, some of you cheered. Others of you, well, that's Pittman. You know she gets them all the time. Well, let Pittman tell you who that Pittman is and what she gets all the time and what she has had enough of. Indifference. Indifference on the part of residents. You have got to let what is important be important. Forget the gossip. Hide your pride. Go and talk to your neighbor and let them know we here in East Point have a problem. Because if East Point becomes known as a place where homes are being left standing to rot, the city will put a lien on the tract of land once they get it condemned, and whoever owns that tract of land would have to reimburse the city for that. But what do they care? You got to have a lien on that. I can't live on it. It's in a flood zone. But more so, what are new prospective buyers? What will they see? What will they think? News spread fast when it's bad. Don't move to East Point. They have floods there, and down the street houses have floods, and you don't even know whether how long it's going to be before yours is done. We don't need that kind of misinformation out there. No, but though it's true, we need a plan. What are we going to do? That is why we have community projects in the stormwater utility ordinance. That is why we put up 40% to pay for the stormwater $12 million that was spent out of the $51 million CIP on stormwater issues. That part of the stormwater bill cost the city $803,000 a year. I don't know how many more years we have to pay that, but I'm going to find out. And when that bond debt there is paid off, and even if it is not paid off, we are bringing in enough stormwater fee money, if put in the bank and left to do what it is supposed to do, for it to become invested. And when we need to buy out a homeowner whose greatest investment is lost, to pay assessed value that's stated on their property tax bill, then that person will have a little solace and know that the city that he or she lived in and the people who she called neighbors and friends cared enough to come together and come up with a means of helping them. But you will sit home and wait for someone else to go out there to help you. And then when it happens, you on the phone calling everybody, it's your problem and I need help. Where were you when help was needed and made a difference to you? Now we're still in the process. Councilwoman Martin Rogers is still working with the city attorney for her to put it in the form and make sure that we're not having any legal obstructions in it before bringing it to a work session that would have hopefully would have been this past Monday night, last night. But due to the number of items that was on that work session, they didn't. It was pulled, and because she is one who is willing to listen to the residents, even though she is a local council member, just as I was a local council member, when residents of this city helped me to get newsletters out to every ward that had a home with a mailbox that was not in apartment complexes. That was when my executive assistant and I would go to the apartment complexes and leave those with management. We need to be helping each other. Neighborhood associations need to be actively involved in those things that hit their community. Poor attendance at neighborhood association meetings, because what are you kind of information are you getting there? If all you're getting is a report from the fire department, the police department, and code enforcement, I stay home too. What is that telling you that you can't get from one person? If you're having problems in your neighborhood, code enforcement, you might as well not call them in. I haven't seen a difference in some of these properties here. Been 10 years or longer. That house that sits up there behind on the side of Miss Winters across from Dollar General. It is ridiculous. And there is no way that our sewer has been missed by our code enforcement. You need to be meeting and talking about in our community, according to the map that was shown to us by stormwater management, how likely are we to have this creek behind us, that's a little stream now, becoming a creek too wide to jump across? And each year, the banks are further eroding. And whose responsibility is it? If the creek flows through your property, that's your creek. You just can't dam it up to stop debris from coming from upstream and keeping the water from flowing through your property to go downstream. But there's stream banking plans and attributes that can be done to reinforce the stream banks, to keep the water, the soil from deteriorating and being washed away and causing a widening of the creek. You know, when I ask how much in the plan and all for those things in the city, zero. Where's the money? At one time, it was said it was $10 million in the hole. I don't know who hole they're talking about, because it sure is not the stormwater utility hole that is in $10 in debt. Spent on what for the residents? Now, most of you're hearing this for the first time. I read it for the first time, and I've just been thoroughly disgusted. I have been praying long about that this week than I have about anything that's happening in the news, because this is too close to home. It will affect too many people. You cannot afford to go sell your home with people knowing what they know about where you live and drive through there and think you're going to make a killing. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. But even if you don't want to move and you want to stay in your home, how can we make it safe for you while at the same time keeping your investment regulated by the federal mandates that the city has to adhere to? We have a lot to do. And you need to come out of these houses and protest on Monday night from 5 to 6 o'clock. You need to get you a little sign and put on there, pass the stormwater utility ordinance. Because what we have now is not the stormwater utility ordinance. And like all governments, what is on the book as a law remains there until it is repealed or amended. Now you're gonna find my name on that stormwater management utility. I never signed that garbage. I would never sign a bill, an ordinance that says if the stormwater fee is not paid, the homeowner's other utilities could be turned off. And then a lien is put against the property. There is no way I would have signed anything like that because it never crossed my desk. But then again, my name is so popular that it is on a document that council never saw. Even council never, it never came before the council in a meeting, verbally, visually, any sort of form. But somehow or another, it ended up in the budget book as an ordinance. And when the class action lawsuit was filed and they were in court, Discovery came up with this ordinance. It had to be turned in. In November of 2013, while I was still mayor and the budget was passed, this article, this ordinance, ended up in the budget book. How hilarious. In the first place, in 2011 election, former council member Alexander Gotha and current council member Latanya Martin Rogers were elected in order, and the promise was made. First time I ever walked the street for an election. I never walked streets of my own and worked as hard as I did with other residents. I mean, the residents worked. We needed 2 people on that council to overturn what was passed in the budget amendment of the ordinances, creating all kind of foolishness and fees and all that they knew that no council member in their his or her right mind would bring it, a motion to the floor to pass it at a council meeting. So they hid it in the budget book. Had the nerve to have my name and signature affixed to it. I mean, I'm real popular these days. Who is going to question Pittman's signature? You know they know she reads everything. And she's going to know, and she thinks she knows everything. But it's one thing you can say about Pittman. If my signature is on it, I read it. And I own up to all of my messes. Equally, my successes. With the help of other people, the residents. And that help is needed now. It is needed now more than ever. Your property, your investment is on the line. Now here comes the city manager talking and making statements that the electric utility rate needs to be going back to the summer rates that were suspended during COVID. Unfortunately, no council member, those that get that check every other Thursday and don't have any problem using that money for just sitting up there, who can barely be heard behind that little petition up there. I'm talking about you, Council Member Cummins. I'm talking about you, Council Member. Well, shoot, I don't even know the name. It's so insignificant up there. But that's Ward C, at large. I'm talking about every at-large council member up there who represents every resident in this city. You are at large. And you are just as responsible for what happens citywide in these in our 4 wards that makes a difference. I'm talking about you. I'm calling names from now on. It does not make any sense for you to have money in your budgets to pay for you to communicate with your constituents, the residents of this city, who never get so much as a phone answered when they call. Your voicemail has not been set up. Not an answer when they email, that's not returned. Let alone a flyer, a robocall, a town hall meeting. What are you doing with the money? It's supposed to be used for consumable goods. And that does not mean Councilwoman Ziegler, Councilmember Atkins, having your own little youth campaign group called the Leadership Group in A. You represent Ward A, Councilmember Atkins, B, C, and D. Councilmember Cummings, you represent wards A, B, C, and D. And Councilwoman, the new council member in D represents A, B, C, and D. I think I left someone out. A. That's council member. Oh, who is A? See? And it's not because I'm 80 and having Alzheimer's issues. Just don't hear from you. And we need to bring a sign. And when we can't hear what is being, no, we don't need to bring a sign. We need to come to council meeting. And when they start back there talking and you can't hear, we just stand and clap. We have every right to hear what is being said about business taking place in this city. We have every right. And when we then that let them know we can't hear. We need to hear what is being said. They need to put those cell phones away. If you have to have someone texting you to tell you what to say and what to ask and when to do it, then you don't need to be sitting up there and drawing a check every other Thursday. We had cell phones when I was on the council. They was turned off and not visible from up there by council members. That means you had them in your pocket, a briefcase, a pocketbook. But they're so busy up there looking for someone to tell them what to do or what to say to try to have a gotcha moment on another council member. They're not doing what they need to do, coming prepared. Coming and coming prepared. I'm not the only one in this city know what is going on up there. Never thought I was. Never pretended that I was. But those of us who do know, share your knowledge. I did not become a teacher because I was going to zip my lip. I did not become a union president of AFT because I was going to sit down. I ride with the bullhorn in my car. I'm proud to be a protester. If it was not for protesting, this United States would not exist now. All the freedoms and all that we had, and now convicted Trump, President convicted Trump, and his cohorts are trying in every way and form, with some assistance from the Supreme Court, to limit those. That is why we have no King's protest. East Point did not have a single one of you out there. I would have been out there, but I had a virus. October the 19th of last year, not even August, September, 2 months after I had a double mastectomy, I was out there. Yeah, I passed, I passed out for a few seconds there at the end that I had to be taken away. But I was out there. Where were you? All of you so fine, sophisticated, this, that, and the other. There is no woman in East Point greater than I am. Word up. And I am not your slave. I am not your cohort. I am not your secretary. You don't pay me anything for what I do. I do it because I want to do it. I do it because there are residents in this city who were out there working on your behalf and the city's behalf who are no longer physically able to do so. I honor what they did because it is who they were that caused me to be able to get what we did together as a voice and a spokesperson. Now, you have to stand up, younger generation. You want us old folks gone, and you said that you want a step out of the way, but we're out of the way. You need to get to know the people in your community. The problem with this mayor and council, except for Martin, they don't have a base. They don't have a base. You know why? They don't do anything in the community. They think that because I have a town hall, and that's not a town hall meeting. That's just a neighborhood meeting. You go to a meeting in the church, have the three people I call, the firemen, the police, and the code enforcement there, and you talk about a few this. I don't even know what you talk about when I go. It was so nothing that it made no lasting memory, had no lasting impact because it did not involve the concerns of the city. Things have to change. Things really have to change. Now, I'm not going to go and look up through the minutes to try to find where the council made the motion to suspend summer rates during COVID. It would have made sense to do so. Now, it will take the council to go and repeal that suspension in order to institute the summer rates that are in the table in that electric utility ordinance that no council ever voted on, passed, or what have you, and no council has ever had the decency to take up that ordinance and do what they should do. Only mayor and council can institute, create, suspend fees. Now the city manager is including the suspension. The discontinuing the suspension of the summer rates. Your grocery bills are going up. Look at the size of Old Nature. I think it's Old Nature loaf of bread. I was shocked. The size has decreased so that you might think it's like almost an oversized pound cake, a little longer than a pound cake. You're getting less and paying more. Gas and anything connected with gas is going to cost you more. Amazon is adding a delivery fee. You want to go back where the postal service is going to have to add a delivery fee, which they already have for packages that are delivered. Fertilizer. Anything that grows and needs it is going to cost us more. All over this country, people are losing their jobs. AI is killing white collar workers and taking their jobs. You should read the Atlanta Business Chronicles. to tell you whenever there are layoffs, jobs are being cut. It is sad because you don't know of anyone who lost his or her job. Does not mean that somewhere in Georgia and close by in Georgia, it is happening. Never forget for a moment when any of us sneeze in Georgia, all of us better put the tissue to the nostril. Because at some point in time, if it happened there, it's going to happen in a law or policy that's going to reach you, a loss of job, a loss of something that's going to be attributed to it. I am going to be out front of City Hall, if it's not raining, on Monday from 5 to 6 with my sign protesting on the sidewalk, not disturbing anyone, just walking with your sign. And if press should come up and want to talk to you, it's up to you what you said to the press. If you have concerns about your property, what you don't know about it, if you have concerns about your property taxes being increased, as it has been spoken by the city manager out here, third person, because council members are not letting us know anything other than those who they talk to as friends or whatever. And I don't like to share my gossip in writing. Will not share it without data support. Now, I want this city manager just I want this mayor and council to tell us, the residents in this city, what is proposed in there. Now, the city manager is working on the budget. He's working on a budget that he needs to implement the way he wants to. And he's taking his wish list to the council. Now, when the mayor and council gets the budget, they alone have the authority and say, well, we're going to reduce this allocation over here. We're going to increase it over here. We're going to delete this altogether over here. We want whatever. They are the ones who do that, not the city manager. I don't know why they start having the city manager to explain and go over the budget with the residents. The city manager is not answerable to you for what goes into that budget. Only mayor and council. Do you think you want something that he has in there that he's going to go to the council after telling you that, well, I think I need to take this out because the residents did not like it being in there? Are you a fool? That is what happens when council gives their authority to employees. And the city manager is their employer. And do you think for 1 minute he is going to say, well, let's cut this, let's cut that? By the way, he's talking increases. Where are the cuts in this budget? You have non-created agencies that only the council can create over there in members in his office. 3 people sitting over there. One salary I know is $93,000. I have the other 2 also. DEI. As black as this city is, where is the diversity? We have no problems with the whites who are in a minority, with the Hispanics who's in a minority, with gay and lesbian in the minority. So I've gotten carried away. My time is up, but we hope to see you at council meeting on Monday night. Thank you for listening to the rant. Go and be prepared to get a copy. As soon as I stop speaking, I'm going to email it out to you.